Hey, Joseph from Nevada. You wanted to talk about evolution and classic definitions of species.
Yes. Well, thank you for taking my call. I actually don't do a lot of calling into atheist shows, but I have called in the past. I spoke one time in my life to Matt Dillahunty, and it was really great.
Yeah.
So I'm honored to call again and talk with you guys. Now I understand if my question if you can't answer it, that's fine, because it's more of a biology and genetic question, and it's completely fine if you can answer like I don't know. That's fine.
Okay. Go ahead.
I just want to say to the caller, or sorry, the other guest that you have on, I appreciate that you were Christian in the past and you've changed now. With the political climate as it is right now, it's actually reinforced my Christianity, because I see now there's a correlation with atheism and I think liberalism or Democrats. It's kind of weird, the political climate in America, but it's kind of reinforced my beliefs. I'm sorry. On to my question on evolution. Mm-hmm. If you would give me just 45 seconds to lay this out, and then you can give me a response. And this is really important to me because I've done a lot of research on this topic, and I understand this argument. And usually when I lay this out, I get ad hominems, or I don't get a
just go ahead.
I don't get a good response. Usually people beg the question, or they don't, give me a scientific response.
Right.
So
let's go ahead and get to the question.
The research that I've done. Okay, sorry. This is the research that I've done. When we look at human evolution, the theory is that ape evolved into man. We're hominids. We came from apes, and we evolved into man. And we look at species. The classical definition of a species is basically, if they're related, they have similar characteristics, and they can interbreed, and that makes a species that is related. So we can look at that in nature. We can see a dog and a wolf, which are subspecies. A wolf has the same characteristics, and they can interbreed with dogs. Some species that aren't the same species but can interbreed would be a zebra and a donkey. Now, their offspring won't be fertile. But when we look at apes, we have similar characteristics, but we can't interbreed. And so I've done a little research into this, and why is that? If we have 98% genetic similarities. So I looked at first the chromosome argument, but that doesn't work, because the chromosome argument, basically we have animals and things in life that have the same chromosomes as humans. We have 46 chromosomes, and chromosomes usually are used in paternity tests, right? We have a parent, a dad, and a mom, and we can use our chromosomes to line that up to see if the child is ours or not. So the chromosome is gone. The DNA argument, they said it's 98% close. And so I looked at other animals, like a pig, which is actually closer genetically. And we can take pig organs, like the heart. We can use that in transplantations in hospitals. So we can take organs from pigs, which are very close to humans. If we're looking at their eyes and their organs and their skin, they're basically like humans, very close. So I looked further, and I looked at what is the oldest human race on the planet. Well, it turns out it's a race called the Aboriginals. And if you know the history of the Aboriginals, they were actually persecuted, and they were thought to be the missing link from ape to man. They actually look like cavemen, and they're around today. They live in Australia. And so I looked at the fossils, the first fossils that were ever found. They were found above on surface level. So I thought, well, wait a minute. They found fossils on the ground above that weren't fossilized, and we have Aboriginal people, and we have a disease called agromegaly, which actually makes people look like cavemen.
Yeah, I've heard enough. I can pretty much stop you there. One, I would suggest looking at.
I just finished.
I can stop you right there, because I can tell right now that you have not done any research on any type of reading actual papers or actually looking at anything but maybe, I mean, I would imagine that you probably only looked at AIG and other sources that agree with you. Because a lot of what you say is all over the place and doesn't make any coherent sense. You can go to some place like, oh shoot, I thought I had the right website up here, but I don't. There's a website that'll show you the life family tree, and I'm trying to pull it up here so I can actually get it. Yeah, Evo Geneo is on here, and they have the tree of life and the whole diagram, and you can actually look at it and look at how they classify life and what that tree of life looks like. It's not complete by any stretch of the imagination because it doesn't cover everything, but it does cover enough. And so do more research. I know, like on YouTube, Crash Course has got some really good stuff on biology and some other things. I just don't think you've done enough research to actually disprove anything coming close to disproving evolution, or to actually answer your questions. And I certainly don't have enough biology background to go into those details. But I do have enough to know that you have not read, you're not well enough read yet to actually answer your own questions. And then were you to actually go into biology and actually take a cohesive course, you'd actually answer your own questions. Dave, did you want to add anything to that?
Answer.
Well, I'm certainly not a biologist or don't have extensive knowledge on these things, but I'm guessing, Joseph, if you're trying to disprove or discredit evolution, then you are going to say that you believe that we came from Adam and Eve. Is that correct?
Yeah. Am I still on the phone?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, you're still
yeah.
Yes. Well, I don't know. I look at what I do know, what I can see. I can see genetic atrophy, meaning humanity is going downward. We're not going upward. Mutation.
What do you mean? What do you mean by downward and not upward? Can you define that for me? What do you mean by downward and not upward?
Yeah, well, I can give you an example. If you look at the second law of thermodynamics. Now, people say we're a
No. You're already misinterpreting the second law of thermodynamics, and that has nothing to do with going up or down.
To lay it out.
No, the problem is I've heard this argument before, and I really don't want to hear another complete and total misunderstanding of the second law of thermodynamics again. So when you say going up or down, what do you mean in terms of evolution?
Okay, so you are a copy of a copy of a copy. Your parents are passing their genetics to you.
No.
We're not adding anything to that.
We're not copies. We are not copies. That is entirely 100% incorrect. We are not copies. I am a combination of my biological parents' genetics. I am not a copy of them.
So what's adding to your genetics?
Mutations and viruses.
What's adding diversity? What is adding diversity to your genetics? How are we increasing
mutations and viruses? And don't ask me the specifics on the viruses. I'm not entire. Pardon?
Mutations don't add to your genetics.
Yes, they do. They add new. Now, so let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Now, if I take and copy out exactly, word for word, all the works of Shakespeare, and I only start making small changes, one in say 500 copies, how many changes do I have to make before I get a completely different work of Shakespeare?
Well, no, you're going to Shakespeare. I'm talking about in nature.
No. I'm talking about how many changes does it take before you decide you have something new? And I'm using the works of Shakespeare as an example, as a metaphor for that. So as I continue to copy works of Shakespeare and I'm making one change per, say, 500 copies, how many changes before you say I have a completely new work of Shakespeare?
Okay, can I ask you a question? Are you taking away from the work or are you adding something to it? Are you just rearranging the letters?
Yes, all of the above. In some cases, I'm just simply rearranging letters. Some cases, I'm adding words. In some cases, I'm dropping words.
Nothing is being added. Nothing's
added. No. So I'm actually adding words on occasion. Yes, I just said that.
Where is that addition coming from? Who's adding it?
It's just a mistake in copying. That's all it is.
Look, to add it to that.
Yeah, you can actually duplicate. If I take a word and duplicate it, I've added it. If I add a completely different word, I've still added words, right?
Well, let's just say for hypothetical reasons that Shakespeare book only has 4 words. I am the Lord, right? And we can rearrange those words however many times we want. We would have to take away some for them to make new words. But
no, I wouldn't have to. I could simply transcribe in there not. I am not the Lord. And now I have a whole new sentence, don't I?
Right, but for the other words, we would have to take away for that to make a sentence, or else we would have like some gibberish at the beginning of the word.
Exactly. That is exactly what happens that is exactly what happens in DNA, right? We get copies of DNA that get ignored. We get additions to DNA. Sometimes it comes from mutations, just changes, so that we get a new set of alleles and chromosomes, and sometimes they get injected from viruses. And viruses is not the right word. I know somebody who's much better at this biology than I am is screaming their head off at me right now, and I apologize for that. Mm-hmm. But that is exactly where this new stuff comes in, and this is why I say you haven't read enough to even begin to talk about this. I mean,
Sir, and this is where I come in, where I'm saying, like, you're begging the question. You're just saying it is. I can give you examples in nature where, for example, a Chihuahua, we can breed big dogs down to Chihuahua.
But see, here's the problem. I can actually go in. So you can actually go out and do this research yourself, because I don't know where it is off the top of my head. But you can go in and look at viruses that inject DNA into our DNA. And you can go in and look at how DNA gets mutated and all the ways that it gets mutated to realize how that stuff happens. So you can go into all of the dog breeding and all the rest of it, and okay, fine, but I'm actually talking about looking at how the DNA itself gets changed at the DNA level.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where you got to go.
Let me interject, Joseph. I mean, we could probably spend the whole show arguing about evolution, and I don't know enough about it to basically to help in that regard at all. But let's say you were able to disprove evolution. Where does that leave us? So what is what I'm going to say to you? Where does that leave us in terms of how a God? Can let me finish? Where does that leave? Let's say you disprove evolution. Where does that leave us in terms of how a God of any kind interacts with humanity today?
Well, you don't even necessarily have to say that. If you're not a Christian, you could say some people believe that we were seeded. You know, perhaps another life that's more advanced than us seeded the earth. That would be more practical than to say that we came from nothing and we evolved into.
You're missing my question. I don't care how we got here. Let me just jump ahead. I'm not arguing with you how we got here, whether we came from another planet or apes or Adam and Eve. What does that have to do with where we are now? Let's talk about where we are now. How does a God anywhere? What is a God anywhere doing for any of us? You said that the way things are changing, it makes you more certain of your faith, and that you're more convinced that you want to be a Christian, that you are a Christian. So why? Where is God in all of this?
Right. Well, that is a difficult question, and it does inquire your own personal experience for that. Because
no, because everybody's personal experience is different.
Let me answer your question.
You can't. Well, you're going down the road of personal experience, because then you say, well, I've experienced God. Well, so did the guys who drove planes into the towers at 9/11. They experienced their God. But you, if you're a Christian, you would say that their God is not accurate and yours is. You can't just use anecdotes for evidence. That doesn't work that way.
Right.
I agree with you, sir. But I think,
in
my opinion, the truth is the most important thing. And wherever the truth leads you, whether it's contradicting, if your evidence is contradicting, then the truth is what matters to me. And if you guys are giving me anecdotal, or if you're giving me if you're begging the question and telling me I'm wrong, but you're not giving me any evidence or things I can look at and research.
No, so
Jim did that. Jim did that early on. Yes, he did that right out of the gate.
You're telling me to go.
And I'm approaching it a different way. You and Jim can argue evolution all day long. I'm saying to you, Joseph, what does it matter? Where is God now? Show me evidence if you want truth. Show me true evidence that there's a God actively involved in the world today. You're not listening, you're talking.
People believe the earth is flat. What does it matter if it's not flat?
I don't know what that has to do with what I asked you.
Flat.
Well, I'm asking you to show me evidence of a God actively involved in the lives of humans today. Not your personal experience, not something that you feel.
Experience about God. I called in to talk about evolution and the discrepancy.
Right. And so again,
and we did that. We did that for a long time.
You told me no research, but I'm giving you the research right now. I've looked at the.
No, so I'm telling you to go look at counter research. And I told you to go look at counter research and to go look at real research and to go look
Ken
at.
Ham has his research. Ken Ham has Answers in Genesis research.
Right.
Are you supposed to just accept that as truth?
No, that isn't research.
Come on, Jim.
Yeah, AIG is not good research at all. And there are a number of really good YouTubers out there, Vice Prano, and who does a really, really good job of showing you the real science. And again, I've told you to go look specifically for particular types of research. And I've apologized for not having that at the top of my mind and at the top of my head. This is not my area of expertise. So if you want to go look at how information gets added to DNA, you're going to go look at DNA mutations and how they mutate. You're going to go look at how viruses directly inject genes into DNA. Those are two sources of research you can go look at and find out for yourself. I apologize for not being expert enough to actually go into it.
Can I give my final thought?
Go ahead.
Okay, my final thought is you basically, your refute of my research is to tell me to go research and to look into what I don't know. And would I be correct in saying that if you don't know about God, you have to go research and look at the Bible, and then you would understand what it means?
Okay.
I did that for 37 years, Joseph. I did that for 37 years.
Yeah, and Joseph, I did as well. And I'm on a show right now, hoping that somebody will give us proof of God, and you have failed, sir. Completely, utterly failed.
I never called about God. I called about evolution.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm on the show asking people to give me proof of God. We talked about evolution. That's nice. But yeah, I'm on the show once a month. Matt Dillahunty's on here almost every week. All of us, there are a number of us who have looked for it and haven't found it. So,
and you said if we should research this and find it in the Bible. I've read the Bible upside down, inside out, cover to cover, preached it, taught it 37 years.
Right.
And I'm here telling you I don't see evidence of God in the Bible.
You would understand.
The Bible's, what's that?
That's basically what you're telling me to do. You're telling me to go research, and then I would understand. And I'm telling you, if you don't understand God, you need to go research, and you need to go talk to theologians, and then you would understand.
We have.
Oh, okay, that's a good idea. I'll do that.
And Dave was a theologian.
Yeah, I'll do that. Good idea. I'll go to Bible school.
All right. Thank you very much, Joseph. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Goodbye. All right. Yeah. So we're telling you to go look at research because you haven't done enough. There's more evidence for evolution than there is for gravity.
Where do they get this stuff, man?